Tejaswi, the path, glory, lead, dash to the grave. Okay, them I'm sure will have a problem with this question, right? So a lot of you are saying straight, some of you are saying but, some of you, okay, so everybody is saying straight or but, okay. Now if I take straight, the path, basically it's the path of glory, of is missing, okay. Now if I say the path of glory leads straight to the grave, the meaning that straight brings in is, glory here represents some sort of an achievement, okay, or some sort of a success, alright. So if I say every time I achieve something, it will lead straight to the grave, is an incorrect meaning of the context, right? The path of glory leads straight to the grave. So you're saying every time I achieve something, every time I'm successful, I will die. That's not the meaning that the context is bringing. So everybody who said straight and everybody who said directly, though it sounds right, right? It sounds right. A path of glory leads straight to the grave. Construction wise, sentence structure wise, it sounds right. But the meaning is incorrect. That's not what the meaning this particular guy, poet, is trying to establish here. He's saying the path of glory lead but to the grave. If you're familiar with the poem, the actual meaning, the word that fits in the blank is but. But I'll quickly explain why it is so, right? For you to understand. So basically what they're saying is, Sylvia might accomplish a lot of things in this lifetime, right? I can be, or Tanya can be extremely successful in this lifetime. She can win a lot of, she can acquire a lot of achievements, she can gain a lot of accolades, all of that. But when she dies, everything, whatever she's achieved, whatever she's accomplished, right, goes with her to the grave. Or I can look at it at a different meaning also, especially when the first example that I gave, right, to explain elegy. I said people who go to the war, they die. Only after they're dead, they are glorified. Yes, my brother fought in the war. He died for my country. Yes, I will remember him now. So the glorification happens after that guy is gone, dead and gone. So in the context, what the poet is trying to say is, in spite of you acquiring all those accomplishments, all those achievements, all the success that you had, you can't take it with you when you die, right? So the paths of glory lead but to the grave. That's why that but conjunction there. So this is the meaning that the poet is bringing. We all know, most of the time poets are more about creativity and trying to bring in the meaning that they have, their ideology, their concept of something, right? They don't necessarily look at, okay, what is grammatically correct in this sentence? I mean, if you take any of the lyrics, this generation poems, it doesn't make sense at all, most of them. It's not grammatically correct. And that's not their concern at all, right? So that's why I said, this sort of a question should not be asked in the exam. Why? Because nobody knows the history of it. Nobody will try and figure out, okay, Thomas Gray meant this. This is what he actually meant when he was writing the poem, right? We have no clue. Most of you don't even know who this guy is. You don't even know that this is a line taken from his poem, right? So, in the context for you to know, yes, but to the grave is what the answer is. But so much of history has to go behind that for you to understand this context. Okay, let's move on. Center dash an alert about a plan by leader of an outlawed fundamentalist outfit. Issue declared sounded caution doubted. Doubted an alert out. Okay, I think this is more to do with collocations. I mean, if the more familiar collocation, the most familiar collocation that I'm aware of for something like this, you issue an alert. Yeah, so I would go with option 1, which is only 1, because an alert caution is very repetitive in meaning for me. You know, option 4, you caution someone about something, which means you're alerting someone about something, right? So alert and cautioned, option 4 I'll remove because it's repetitive. Sound an alert, declare an alert, compared to issue an alert, I would go with issue an alert because that's a more common collocation. So I will go with option 1. See, Sagar, if you ask me, when do you declare something? When you want to announce something, right? Alert, not necessarily that you want to announce. It's more like you're cautioning someone, hey, watch out, be careful, you know, I want you to be aware of this, right? So I wouldn't say declare is a more effective word, especially when you're referring to when you want to caution somebody about something, or when you want to alert someone about something. You can issue an alert, right? It's more like beware, you need to know about this. Yeah, that makes more sense. What is Kunal's question? Kunal's question is, the path of glory lead dash to the grave, straight but indirectly. So, but why is it, I mean, we'll arrive at the answer. Most of you are saying but, right? Majority is saying but. Why? I am going with option 4. Why but? Okay. Good. Glory and grave, contrast, right? That's your clue right there in the context itself. The path of glory. So, okay. In fact, this particular phrase is an elegy written by a guy named Thomas Gray. Okay, I think the name of the elegy is something in a courtyard or something. I think it's an elegy written in a church courtyard, if I'm not wrong, right? So what's an elegy? An elegy is an ode to somebody who passed away, right? You're writing a poem about some person who died. Okay, that's an elegy. So this particular line is taken from that elegy. Now, the path of glory, right? What would you consider glorious? What would glory mean to you? Something that you've accomplished, something that maybe you've become the wealthiest man in the whole world, right? Or you've become the most successful entrepreneur, right? And that's going to get you a lot of glory. People are going to be like, wow, Gauri has become so successful, and that's a moment of glory for you when everybody praises you, right? So don't you think it's contradicting the fact that the path of glory, why would it lead to grave? Grave is when you die, they bury you, right? That's the grave. That's why it's called graveyard, where everybody who dies gets buried. So the context itself is contradictory in meaning, right? And those are the two clue words, glory and then grave. And that's the only reason, right? So the path of glory doesn't necessarily have to straight or directly lead to the grave, but because that doesn't make sense. If you have accomplished so much in life and that is your path of glory, ideally it shouldn't lead to the grave, right? But so there are hidden meanings to this phrase. A lot of people, come back and say a lot of things. It's like saying, no matter how much you accomplish, whatever you accomplish, at the end of the day, you have to die one day. So you can't take all that glory with you, right? That's one meaning. And it's also about another way of looking at it is, like for example, our soldiers, right? People working in the army force, right? So those guys sacrifice their lives for the country, for the nation, and they die. But their glory is, they are remembered even after they're dead and gone. So it's like almost saying like glory does not remain or does not belong to earth. It's after. It's a very poetic meaning. So let's not get into that. But the context itself helps us. Okay? The context itself helps us saying contradictory meaning. Glory, why grave? But that's the reality. Okay? That is why the paths of glory lead but to the grave. Not straight or not directly or not definitely in. Got it? I have great respect dash your qualities. This is a single blank. I think we've looked at this question a long time back. But look at our options. In, for, towards, into, and to. Those of you who are familiar with this question, those of you who think, this has to be the right answer, what do you think is the answer? I have great respect dash your qualities. I want you to apply a little bit of collocations as well, right? You've heard people say this repeatedly, right? Most of you are coming back and saying towards. A couple of you have said for. What's the right word? Let's look at it. Now the collocation as such is, if you look it up, right? What we've heard people say repeatedly is, one has great respect for someone or for something, right? Since most of you came back and said towards, now towards is more, what do I say? You can show an attitude of anger. The difference I'm saying towards and for, right? Since most of you came back and said towards, let's understand this. So let me give you an example. So if I say, my friend is indifferent or angry towards me, right? In fact, angry, I would say with would be an even more appropriate preposition to associate with. My friend is angry with me would be more effective. My friend is indifferent towards me, right? So in terms of adjectives also, there are certain adjectives that get associated with certain prepositions to bring in effective meaning. Yeah. So in that way, I am talking about an emotion that you are having towards a person, right? When something has to be directed at that person. Yeah. So I see that man walking towards me in the direction of where I am standing, right? That way it makes sense. But here in our context, you have something for someone, right? I have respect. I have huge respect. I have great respect for you. I have great respect for the, let's say, the laws that have been passed by the government currently, right? Just to give you an example, I don't know if you are at that place, but I'm just giving random examples, right? You can have great respect for someone, you can have great respect for something. But when I say I have great respect towards you, is not sitting right for me, because I can display or express an emotion towards you, right? Somebody can approach me, like as in coming towards me in terms of direction, then towards makes more sense. So in this context, for would be a more appropriate preposition to get associated given the meaning that the context is bringing. Yeah. So I have great respect for your qualities, not towards your qualities, right? You can express an emotion towards somebody. This is very important for you to understand, right? In terms of even with certain adjectives and certain prepositions that get associated. I gave you an example, right? You can be indifferent towards someone, you can be angry with someone, right? I can be sad about something. Look at the different prepositions I'm associating these adjectives: sad, indifferent, and angry. So the more you read, the more you apply this in context, you will know, okay, this is the preposition that has to go with this particular word. Yeah. And remember, mostly adjectives get associated in terms of towards, and nouns get associated with for. I have great what? Respect for you, right? Don't literally take this, but I want you to explore this a little more. Look at a lot more sentences, you will get an idea.